Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be sitting down with Marcus, who's the owner of Maths Mastery Academy, which is an online tuition program helping students in the UK to prepare for maths competitions and also kind of prepare them for university, from what I understand. So I'm really excited to dive into today's conversation because I think when people think about coaching consulting, their mind often goes to marketing, sales, business related programs, and there's so many other aspects to the coaching consulting world that I think get overlooked. So really excited to dive in and have this conversation. So Marcus, are you sort of ready to take us from the top?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Michael, for that short
Of
introduction.
course. Of course. Cool. So let's get started with things. I know obviously you have Maths Mastery Academy, but from what I understand, you've also studied slash taught at some of the kind of top educational institutions in the UK. So take me back to where your journey with maths started, so to speak, and how you kind of realized this was something that you were excelling at and wanting to help others with.
Yeah, so I guess it really started when I was about to leave university. So I did my undergraduate degree at Bristol University. And it was towards the end of that, I was like, okay, I need to start thinking about a job. I was like, shall I go down like the graduate training program route and like work for one of the big four, like, yeah, KPMG, like accounting, consulting firms? Um, And yeah, I was lucky in the respect that those doors didn't open up because I don't think I would have enjoyed those jobs at all. And it was through being online, like working out, okay, what do I want to do? Kind of found Sam Ovens Consulting Accelerator. I think you know it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was when I was probably like 20, 21 years old. And I was like, okay, what can I actually do to make money like online? What, and then how can I not be reliant on other people to build something from scratch? And it really planted the seed for me. And from there, I tried to start building a tutoring business first time round, and then realized actually I feel like I need to develop the teaching skills, develop the math skills to build something like that, and also just the philosophy, the paradigm, the market, to understand all of those things. Like um, I needed to kind of train to study, to teach in school in practice, um, to develop all those things, and also the credibility to take something online. So from there, I trained to teach at Oxford University. I obtained my PGC, postgraduate certificate in education from there, and yeah, from there landed a job at Sevenoaks School in the UK. It's like an independent co-educational school, and been there for 3 years now. And in my third year, I've also started running the Maths Mastery Academy too. So I think that kind of gives a brief
Yeah, it
overview of
does.
how I've got to where I
That's
am.
a really good bit of context. Out of curiosity, my naivety is going to come in here. What does co-educational mean with reference to?
Boys and girls, yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. That was way
yeah.
simpler than I thought it would be. Okay, understood. So, how recently did you say you started Maths Mastery Academy?
So while I was doing my teaching, I was like, I kind of had in the back of my mind that I wanted to come back to tutoring in the online space at some point. Um, I actually saw an ad last year in February for something called the Teacher Project. It's kind of a plug for them, but they've been really helpful to me, so I don't really mind. And basically advertising, okay, this can help you take your what you do in the classroom online to start a tutoring business so you can live life on your own terms. So I enrolled with them in February. I really got it up and running summer last year, but it was like, ad hoc lessons, really cheap prices, paying a lesson at a time. Kind of turned it into a course and a curriculum around September for the first enrollment. And I did that again January, and planning on scaling it up now as I focus on it full time.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Um. So, also from kind of what I understood at Seven Oaks, maybe it's still active at the moment. You had a kind of maths
Mhm.
club that you would run. Is that something you still run for students there?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So going from kind of doing in-person tutoring to then starting something online, talk me through that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it started in the classroom. the idea and the motivation, where I kind of realized that for some students, the, the kind of the basic maths curriculum isn't really enough to stimulate and challenge them. And I recognize that a lot of schools are focusing on bringing up their kids, that the kids' grades who are struggling, without necessarily work like figuring out how to push the ones who are already perhaps on track for a grade 9 at GCSE, but how do we motivate them and challenge them when they're in year 7, 8, or 9, to actually go beyond the curriculum to get a better understanding. And and I kind of saw maths competitions, so things like the UK Maths Trust runs, like the Junior Maths Challenge and Olympiad, as a solution to that. So what I started doing in school was running these maths clubs to help kids prepare for those maths competitions, and just helping them as much as I could do well there, and then also using the experience that I had from doing that to also help kids who want a similar thing but perhaps don't have access to that in school maths club online.
Got it. Okay. And how did you go about acquiring the first few customers for this when you started out?
Yeah, it was tough. I'll be honest, I started by advertising for A level. So that's older students in years 12, 13 to age 16 to 18. Because I thought, okay, bigger market, bigger demand, more closely tied to university results. But my heart wasn't in it. So I was advertising on Facebook for that. And I had like a few kind of strategy session type sales call things. I had about 13 with no success. And then I pivoted towards maths competitions. Again, advertising on Facebook. Started really low ticket, just trying to get like the first customer. So the first thing that I signed someone up for was like a £29 group class with one kid in the group.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just came through Facebook ads and then reaching out on WhatsApp basically.
Got it. Okay, so they would like a lead form ad or like what?
Yeah, lead
Got
form
it.
ad. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And it was the parent you were speaking to.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the? How did you? I'd be curious, and this is something I want to dive into a little bit more in detail as we go on. But how did you tailor the messaging? So obviously, your customer, the person that makes the decision, is different to the end user. So what did the messaging look like in your ad, and what sort of pain points were you calling out, if any, in your marketing in order to, and essentially in order to generate leads and acquire customers?
Absolutely. So my understanding of this has improved dramatically since when I started. When I had those first few calls, when I pivoted to maths competitions, when I called those parents up for the first time, I was actually like, yeah, what caught your interest about this ad? Because I almost didn't know myself. Like, what are you actually looking for? And yeah, from having those conversations with parents over the past year, what I'm really tailoring my ads towards now, firstly, one of the headlines that's worked really well is want your child to get a gold award in the Junior Maths Challenge. So immediately calling out the competition, if they've heard about it or not, the allure of a gold award, I think, pulls parents in and it hooks them. One that I've done recently that's working quite well is if your child is finding maths easy, that's not necessarily a good sign. And then going down the line of if they're finding maths easy now, they're probably not being pushed, they're not being challenged. They might enjoy maths now, but ultimately they're going to hit some kind of roadblock down the line.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that. And I guess we can't, because I assume, as you've alluded to there, your kind of depth of understanding on the marketing will have improved all the time you've been doing this. What does your we'll talk about your offer and then also how you're kind of marketing and selling now. So we're talking about ads already, so we can stay on that. What does your funnel look like? Are you still using lead forms and then you're sending them elsewhere? Are you using a VSL funnel? Like, what are you doing to acquire customers?
Honestly, it's so simple. I like I'm gonna like make it more advanced soon, set up the lead forms. But yeah, it's the Facebook lead form puts their contact details, email, and phone number into a Google Sheet, and also adds them as Google Contact. From there, I call them on WhatsApp Business on my WhatsApp Business account. Um, Sometimes I send a few messages first, just kind of check that they're the right kind of like the program's basically suited for them,
Yeah.
and then send them an initial assessment, book in a call, and then yeah, once I meet them on Zoom, then I offer the program to them if
Got
they're
it.
again the right fit.
Of course. Of course. And what does the offer look like now?
So it's 12 weeks. It's 12-week curriculum. Uh, Basically walking students through step by step the skills that they'll need in order to do well at these maths competitions like the Junior Maths Challenge, Junior Maths Olympiad. Do you want to go to deliverables as well, or
Yeah, we can do.
that?
We can do. It'd be
Yeah,
interesting to understand what they get.
yeah. So of course the end goal is to help these kids build a fundamental understanding of maths that will carry them through their GCSE, A level, and potentially like prepare them well for university admissions papers and um, you know the admissions interviews as well, because so much what we do in lessons is talking about maths, which helps them develop a deeper understanding.
Hmm.
Um, Now, in terms of how we do that, um, a lot of it is through doing interesting problems together. For me, I put a lot of emphasis on the students to solve these problems, and kind of it's my job as a teacher to guide them through to the right answer. Um, the way we do that is with our weekly live lessons on Zoom, which is small group lessons, like normally no more than 6 kids. Each lesson is followed up with a homework and then a video detailing how to go through those homework problems. We also have a community uh, where kids can ask questions and can collaborate together as well at any time. So it's really more than just the live lessons. It's the um, full package that they can get support anytime.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And you said the ticket value on this is 500 and something pounds?
Yes, it's £580 up front.
£580. Got it. Um, okay. And is that a price point you've kind of risen to over time, or when you created the offer, is that where you? Because I know you said the first thing you sold was like £29, right? Has that been a kind of a price point that's been steadily climbing over time? Do you still plan to increase that? Like, how do you feel about the price point you're at right now?
um, it's I think it's the right price point for right now.
Hmm.
Um, Originally, when I first launched the 12-week course, it was 495 in installments or 420 up front. But a lot of people were signing up at that price. So then I raised it to 720 in installments, 580 up front.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. Um, and you said I think there's only 6 people in the Zoom sessions or the kind of group
Mm-hmm.
sessions. Does that mean the capacity any one time for the program is 6 students, or do you have multiple classes going on?
Yeah, so we've got multiple classes going on. I'm teaching 2 classes at the moment. I've got a tutor that's also taking 2 classes. Um, so I'm actually teaching 3 at the moment. He's taking 2. So yeah, and
Got it.
almost all the students will do 1 class per week.
Got it. Okay. And what sort of challenges do you face, if any? I mean, there may be none here, but I'd be curious to understand what sort of challenges you face, again, selling directly to the parents. Is there any kind of specific objections they come up with that perhaps might not be experienced if you were selling kind of direct to the end user, as many other coaches and consultants are? What are the typical objections you come across that lead someone to either buy or not buy from you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a different sale to what most coaches, consultants have. And I know that because most of the advice is tailored towards, you're selling to the person who um, is going to end up using your product. And I'd say that there are some big differences that it's taken me some time to learn, but now I have. Kind of makes it almost easier in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I do on the call is the first 20 minutes will be I'll go through some maths questions with the child. And if I can use that time to build up a connection and demonstrate my expertise to them and that I can actually help them, the child can actually do a lot of the selling on my behalf to the parent if they want to join. um, so yeah, I do kind of emphasize like asking the child, okay, what did you learn? Which question out of the five that we just done together did you enjoy the most? Um, so that they recognize the benefit also of the questions that they've just done. I then kind of speak to the parent about, well, parent and child for like 20, 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
um, about what they're really looking for, kind of going into those problems that I mentioned earlier. Normally, problems that the parent and the child are facing are that they want this extra support, not because they're struggling, but because they're not challenged enough. And they want to prepare them, put them on the path for success at GCSE A-level university. Um, so in terms of like specific problems, I feel like if I've developed rapport with the parent and child well, normally they'll need to talk about it afterwards. And normally on the Zoom call or whatever, I'll just like hop off for 10 minutes or call them back the next day. Um, but yeah, if I've developed the rapport well and they're convinced that I can offer something of value, I don't think there's any unique problems there.
Is Sorry to cut you off there. Is there any urgency
Mm.
built in, either in terms of the offer or any actual like kind of real life urgency in terms of these competitions? Is there anything there that creates a sense of urgency for them to buy from you, or is that a challenge to create in the sales process?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. One of the things is, of course, preparing for those competitions. Like that is a selling point at certain times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
The competitions happen once a year though, so if it's only like, 12 weeks out that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
um, an urgent thing. Often I'll say, okay, if you're prepared to purchase now, and I'll present my prices as, okay, if you're prepared to pay now, like, or within the next 2 days, it'll be £580, otherwise it'll be 720. So how I position my pricing as well can also develop a bit of urgency.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Um, I would, if you're open to sharing, I would love to know what, at a price point of £580, what sort of ROAS you're seeing, return on ad spend from your Facebook ads. Do you know what it costs you either to generate leads or to acquire customers after you've kind of gone through your conversion rates? Do you track those numbers? Is that something you
Mm-hmm.
monitor and optimize for? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so at the moment, the ROAS is about 4x. I find it quite difficult to track um, because a lot of the clients that I have now are repeat clients, which, yeah, so recently it's taken a little bit of a dip to more like 2x, but still averaging about 4, just because I haven't brought quite as many clients on recently.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, it's not incredible margins by any rate, but it's still profitable.
got it. Um, do you have any plans as to how you might look at increasing that ROAS long term, either by repositioning the offer or creating a back end offer to increase customer lifetime value? Is there anything you've thought about in that sense?
Yes. So after the 12 weeks, the clients will have the opportunity to basically continue on a monthly basis. So that's one way that I'm like, yeah, increasing the lifetime value of the clients. And it means that they don't have to have the decision to re-enroll every 12 weeks. And it will just, yeah, it can just be continuous. I've considered turning it into like a 1-year program and selling it perhaps at the start of September. To be honest, right now, what I'm planning on doing though is having a kind of summer challenge where there's not new classes over summer, but actually creating the video curriculum, having a very kind of low ticket but high value offer over summer that I won't make a huge margin on, but it'd be like about £50 for video curriculum, questions and resources, and turn it into a competition with points and prizes for students who hit certain benchmarks or become like top 3 on points, whatever, and start advertising towards that. And then hopefully get a decent chunk of new people in through that method, as well as my existing clients who can also choose to enroll.
Yeah.
And use that to fill my classes in September.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's actual, like, obviously the school year in the UK starts in September, right? Or at least in England. So there's actual calendar events to be mindful of there. How are you cool sharing how many clients you or students you generally enroll in a month at the moment, and what you see as being the cap on the current model you have? So kind of where you currently are, and if everything you were to kind of continue growing, what do you see the cap on the current model that you have?
Yeah, good question. So on average, I'm enrolling about 5 or 6 students a month, which isn't loads. When I look at my availability, I'm like, okay, technically I have availability for 24 calls per month. But in reality, I think working still at school and having to do all the lead and doing all the lead follow up as well, I find it hard to book in a lot more than 10 calls per month, basically. I'd say that's probably the thing that's most difficult for me right now. Also, I'm still developing my like follow up skills and sales skills. I think as that improves as well, that'll make a big difference.
When you say finding it hard to book more than 10 a month, are you talking 10 sales calls? So this is excluding the lessons that you take, or what are the 10 calls?
Yeah, so those are those 10 sales calls. So 10 like math roadmap sessions.
Got it. How many do you book in at the moment?
Yeah, so on average, it's probably about 10 a month, but I feel like I've got a lot more availability. It's just I've tried upping my Facebook ad spend recently to try and book in those more calls, but I think I've kind of realized that potentially wasn't the number of leads coming through that was the issue. It's more the nurturing of those leads that leads to more booked calls.
If I'm hearing this correctly, you're booking about 10 and you're enrolling about 5 or 6 students a month. So the conversion rate on that is about 50 or 60%.
Yep.
That's very strong. If I was in your shoes, I'd immediately be looking at how I could increase the price point. I wouldn't be looking at because if your conversion rate is really strong, but your ROAS is only between 2 and 4x, it sounds to me like you could get away. There's other factors to consider for sure, but it sounds like you could be charging slightly more. If you were to move, kind of introduce the back end monthly offer, would that just be priced at basically the same as what they currently pay at the moment, but just broken up into monthly amounts?
Yeah, it's 195 a month. Yeah, so it's basically that 580 split. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. On the point, because you talked about kind of your time availability at the moment, what do you see as being your biggest bottleneck at the moment when it comes to growing the business? I know part of the call you mentioned, if I need to cut this out, I can, but you mentioned that you're looking to kind of step away from the full-time role because you're still working the 9 to 5 and go all in on this within the near future. What do you see right now as being your biggest bottleneck to growing the Maths Mastery Academy?
Good question. I think So the honest answer is recently, I think I've been, it's almost like the classic entrepreneur shiny object syndrome. I've been trying to do everything all of the time and kind of going around in circles and not actually um, making any meaningful progress in any one area because I'm just constantly trying to fight fires all of the time.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of the, you know, maintaining the responsibilities that I have to current students alongside um, developing, those new relationships with new potential students and parents. So that's definitely been a challenge that it's just felt like there's been a lot to do. And I've got into a headspace of like, okay, I need to be doing something all of the time. And it's not actually the most productive headspace to be in. When you don't, when I feel like I haven't had that oversight over, you know, and I haven't taken the step back to realize what's actually going on, what actually needs my attention, rather than what am I just responding to. Yeah.
What does that often end up being? Just like client communications or kind of that sort of thing? Like what do you end up, I guess we could call that busy work, right? Like when you're creating work that doesn't necessarily, it's
Yeah.
not going to move the needle. What does that work look like for you?
Like redesigning the website.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, that was like a mini project a couple of months ago. Um, I've tried to streamline a lot of the resources that I've been using. Um, I try and stay on it with my like lead follow up as well. Um, but again, you know, that still can be challenging. A lot of the, I'm creating a lot of the like lesson resources and presentations and homeworks every week. Um, and then also, of course, following up with the students, giving them feedback, and yeah, and then of course doing like a full time other teaching job on the side.
Yeah.
I say on the side, perhaps I shouldn't say that, but
Could be wrong with this. Just
yeah,
a
go
kind of
ahead.
thought crossed my mind
Mm.
based on what I've heard there. Is it that you don't know what you should be doing to grow?
I feel like I know that I should just be doing more volume. I feel like I I needed to increase my ad spend, which is what I did do, but then following up with my leads and then booking in more calls so that I can basically fill up the availability that I have for new students, fill up the classes that I potentially have for new students. Because I have the availability and the flexibility to take on more students, but it's just like making sure that that process is, is streamlined, that people are coming through and at a decent rate. And I haven't been able to increase that rate despite the increase in ad spend. So I'm like, there's probably something going on in the middle there. And it's also especially hard to take on new clients now for the 12-week course because uh, the UK term dates are about to end in about 6 weeks' time. And then people start going away for holidays and, uh, they're off their normal routine. Um, so yeah, it's more difficult to sell a 12-week course now, which is why I've changed it. So it's like 6 or 12 weeks for this like interim period. And then I'm offering the summer challenge over summer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point, and that's something worth considering given the market you're in and who you're selling to. Um, I would agree with what you mentioned a second ago. Like it is volume. Like unless you're having, from what I saw and from what I gauged in the conversation we're having, like seems like you're pretty good at making sure that the students you're working with are getting good results. So unless that's like a massive hole in the bottom of the bucket, which it doesn't sound like it is, I would just be focused on pure acquisition. Like how do we improve acquisition? Um, of course, one element of that is running ads. Are you doing anything else? Like, do you have an organic strategy? Can you even deploy an organic strategy given that you're still working at a school? Does that create any sort of issues there? Like, what is there anything you're doing outside of the ads?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess something that I have kind of half turned my attention to at certain points is like building a more, a greater online presence, Facebook, Instagram. Um, that's kind of one of those things where I've tried, but it's almost been like a project which I haven't devoted my full focus to. I've got so we're a team of three at the moment at the Maths Mastery Academy. I've got one tutor who I'm working with, and also one assistant who I'm working with. And yeah, I've basically asked my assistant to try and figure out as much of it as she could, to do like a lot of the scheduling, a lot of the posting on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, because I've struggled to find the time to be writing those posts and to be putting, or even it's not even writing the post, it's more actually trying to it's the ideas behind it and then communicating those ideas well. So she was doing a lot of that, and yeah, but then it started to feel like it wasn't my voice, it wasn't my kind of message that was going out, it wasn't my words, and it felt a bit insincere. So I kind of put a stop to that, maybe about a month ago,
So
actually. Yeah.
creating content is becoming is a bit of a bottleneck. It's either time
Yes.
or okay. So
Something that
that
I would just, sorry,
go for
just
it.
one more thing. Something I have got relatively good at is updating my email list. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I've remarketed a lot of things to my email list recently, and that's actually worked really well.
yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah, that's often overlooked, and that's a really valuable place to put some time and attention. Um, based on what I've heard there, I'd go as far as I think you're thinking about content creation the wrong way. I wouldn't think about it as creating content. Just document, like document over create. Document what you're doing and what you're teaching. Gary Vee, I think, has said this years ago, but
Mm.
like document what you're doing and what you're teaching and the process you're creating rather than thinking about creating content. That could be as simple as recording the calls you're doing with students and then turning that into short. Is that something you've done? Turn that into short form content? Even just ways to start documenting the process you're doing rather than trying to go out of your way to create content, which obviously takes time.
Um, yes, I have tried that before. I probably didn't give it long enough before I stopped doing it, though. Yeah.
Got it. And where was like what platforms when you have been creating content or documenting? What platforms have you usually been kind of paying attention to?
Um, so mostly Facebook and Instagram, and then a little bit on YouTube as well. Yeah. I was reposting some things on TikTok as well. Um, but and yeah, the way I was doing it was I just basically had a type form link in my bio description, so that if anyone wanted to register their interest in any of the like the paid programs, they could do that, and there'd be a CTA to do that. Um, but I kind of just noticed we'd worked on it for maybe like 2 months using these kind of digitally created images alongside, you know, bold captions saying like giving basically giving our main offer. Um, but yeah, there wasn't much that came from that. So I just turned the attention just back to the ads.
Okay. Um, that's interesting, and that's a fair point. I haven't actually seen the ads that you're running at the moment, so I don't kind of know what
Mhm.
the content or the ads look like. Is it largely like video stuff you're putting out? Is it largely graphics you're putting out?
So it's largely graphics. Again, I've tried video. Um, Again, it's like something I need to come back to give another try. The videos were getting way more clicks and about the same number of leads, but fewer qualified leads. And I think it's also because I turned the Advantage Plus on, and it basically was not hitting my target audience with that. Uh, and it was like a more like, yeah, story, Insta story style ad. Um, yeah.
Who is your, going off on a bit of a rabbit hole here, but I'd be curious, who is
Mhm.
your target audience? Like, who's the sort of person that comes through and you get on the call and you're confident that you're going to be closing them? Like, who is that to you?
Yeah. So it's it's a good question. Of course, there are parents from lots of different backgrounds that I speak to and who enroll their kids into the program. Generally, the kids already go to independent or grammar schools, but it's parents that really care about their kids' education. They've normally already prepared them for 11 plus with a tutor, and they're looking for that extra support now, given that they've passed their 11 plus, they've got into a school that they wanted to, um, and yeah, they're they're thinking what's next. Uh, in terms of the demographics, I actually get a lot of foreign parents who enroll their kids in the program. So a large demographic is Indian, basically. I hope
Yeah.
that's okay for me to
No, no, no.
say.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I could have
yeah,
guessed.
yeah,
Makes a lot of sense. And it
and
also makes a lot of sense what you. Sorry, I'll finish that point before I jump in.
yeah, yeah. I think the culture is much more is much stronger. They're much higher value placed on education um,
Hmm.
in Indian culture compared to UK culture right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. And also, I like what you said about if the child is already going to a grammar school. I would assume private schools come under that as well. So if they're already paying for the
Yeah.
education, then they're used to paying for education. It's different if they're
Yes.
used to free education and then now it's £580 more than they were paying before. Whereas now, if they're already paying for education, I don't even know what private schools in the UK cost, but I would assume a lot more than that.
Mm.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, that's really interesting. Prior to that, I know we were talking about the ads that you were running, and then you were saying that you didn't
Mhm.
feel like you'd given content enough of a chance.
Mhm.
So as of right now, from what I'm hearing, all of your kind of sales, bar none, basically come from ads. There's nothing else that's kind of sending you, well, ads plus emails, but I'm assuming the emails are to leads that have come via ads.
Yes. Correct.
Got it. And how do you think about your email? So I actually saw a couple of your emails. I saw you're using Beehive for your email
Mhm.
newsletter, which is pretty cool. How do you think about the emails you're writing? How do you kind of turn thoughts into emails? What's your process for writing emails, and how often are you sending emails to your list?
Yeah. So be one or two emails a week. So not loads. Again, that's potentially somewhere I'm leaving money on the table. And yeah, a lot of it is informative. So recently, a lot of the emails have been about around the Junior Maths Challenge because that's happened um, about a month and a half ago. So it was like emails leading up to that, and then emails following that, and then also emails about the follow-on rounds, so like the Junior Maths Kangaroo, Junior Maths Olympiad, which are follow-on rounds that a lot of kids who were on that list either qualified for, or a lot of my students are already taught qualified for. So that was good material for those emails. Yeah. And
Got
then
it.
moving forward, of course, a lot of the emails are going to be focused more towards the summer program, summer challenge.
Got it. I actually saw an email from yours the other day that I'd love to ask about. It was one where
Hmm.
it was like, hey, my WhatsApp's not working or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like a call to action in disguise or if that was like a real.
No, my WhatsApp is genuinely, honestly, I am tearing my hair out trying to contact Meta and get that fixed, but it's still down at the moment, basically. So yeah.
Interesting. But you had
I
like a nice PS in there with a call to
yeah,
action at the end, so you made the
I was
most
like,
of
yeah, don't
it.
waste a good crisis.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, not the issue. I hope that gets resolved
Yeah,
ASAP if that's where you're doing all your outreach from, or all your kind
yeah.
of calls to students. Yeah, look, I don't want to draw the point too hard. That's not what this was for. It's more just to kind of hear things on
Yeah.
your side. But I really think if you're not doing anything content wise, you're missing out on an opportunity. Because again, there will be some people that make the decision within 2 days, but there will be some people that are like brand new to the idea, and the content's going to nurture them towards being at the point where they'll then spend money. Plus, people with their kids, I would assume, are a little bit more dubious
Yeah.
sometimes. So content's going to be really helpful for building that know, like, and trust with them to the point where they'll then book in a call with you. Also, if you were saying before you had like, for example, in your Instagram bio, you'd have a link to a type form to register their interest.
Yeah.
Got it. So you will find some people might do that, but very few do. What I would also be doing if I was you in that situation is everyone who likes a post, follows, or comments on any of your posts, the main ones being like and follow, reaching out to them and DMing them. You'll find you can convert a lot of those ones in who may be a little bit nervous or weren't 100% sure if they wanted to reach out, but you initiating that conversation with them can then take them through the initial questions you'd usually ask on WhatsApp anyway, and then turn them into a phone call. So that could be worthwhile. Again, I don't know the numbers and what all of those look like. Okay, I know you have. Well, before I touch on kind of other plans, I'd love to ask about. So we talked about business, marketing, sales side of it. What's the hardest part of running an online tuition business, working with students, and they're kind of like from what I understand, between the ages of like 10 to 14. What's the hardest part of like actual running the business for you?
Yeah, to be honest, the teaching maths side of it is really fun. Like I get to work with like basically kids that are like enjoy maths, enthusiastic about maths, um, and the lessons are interesting, engaging for me as well as them. I think they can see that I'm engaged, and thus that contributes to the way that they feel about it. Um, yeah, I mean, it's something again, another kind of thing that, yeah, in terms of like the maths and the teaching side of it, no problems.
Oh,
Like the
smooth.
homework, I've got Typeform set up for homework, which is absolutely fantastic because I can like fully personalize that and include, yeah, it works really well for the quizzes and things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, another issue that I've been having recently, which is not related to the like maths tuition side, but it's just like making sure that I'm tracking the progress of each student inside the curriculum, like good systems for tracking their homework, their engagement, their lesson attendance, um, and making sure that I'm also reaching out to the parents regularly so that they know how their child's doing as well, and having like
Yeah.
reminders and setting myself reminders to do that. Because of course, I know if I'm reaching out to them and they're seeing the value of it, then they're more likely to re-enroll at the end of 12 weeks or maintain that in the long term.
What does your process look like at the moment for someone getting or student getting towards the end of their 12 weeks and then having that conversation around re-enrolling them? Is it just as simple as setting up a phone call? Do you have anything else that goes on there to basically retain them?
Again, not much. I'll probably send a message. Again, I kind of have to look at the spreadsheet and remember to send them a message a couple of weeks out saying how their child's been progressing to give them some feedback. And then when it comes down to it, like when like a week out uh, from the end, it'll be like, okay, this is the progress your child's made. Um, these are the things that I think would be really helpful for them to do in order to continue progressing with their maths. This is how we can help support that.
Got it. And you're usually then renewing them just via written communication, or there is a phone call there to kind of move them over to a renewal program?
Yeah, sometimes parents would literally just say, "My child absolutely loves this. Like, please like send me the link to sign up for this in the future. Like, how do I continue?"
Hmm.
Sometimes it'll be a phone call. Sometimes I'll just send a voice message. Yeah, bit of a
Got
mix.
it. Got it. Okay. Now, I know there's another offer you have that's not the core one, but I would love to hear about kind of where the idea for it came from, which is Maths
Hmm.
Mastery Family, which from what I understand
Hmm.
is lower ticket. It's like a much lower
Hmm.
ticket price point. Tell me about that, and I understand it's not the focus at the moment.
Hmm.
But what was the thinking behind creating that offer, and is there any longer term plans you have for that?
Yeah. So the idea behind it is it's like a Facebook group, but hosted on Skool. I don't know if I imagine your audience will mostly know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, they should.
Skool.com. So I figured that it'd be better to do it there than just to start a Facebook group because it has the potential of monetizing it. Um, and yeah, just use it as a platform for to give value away to parents, either for very either for free or for a very low price. So the first like kind of 30 people that I got to join it was I basically ran Facebook ads directly to that group. And I was getting really cheap leads. It's like £4 per lead per sign up to that group. I then
And
decided
what were
to
you
kind of
charging initially? So £4 per sign up. What were you charging
yeah.
for
So
access?
but it was free. It was free.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah. Um, then I changed it to $10 a month and kept running the ads to it.
Hmm.
But there's been a bit of an issue in my Facebook ad manager where it's just not putting any money on those ads now that it's a paid product. I haven't really fully wrapped my head around that yet. um,
Interesting.
so that's slowed down a lot, even though they're still getting a lot of clicks, but it's like spending literally, you know, I, I've got three ads that should have an £8 budget each going to it, and they get spent like about 20p gets spent on each one a day. So I haven't figured
Interesting.
out exactly what's happening there. Um, I turned them all off and tried to duplicate and rerun them, and the same thing happens.
Yeah.
So
Um, that yeah, I
yeah.
mean that's probably I mean it would have to be a technical thing on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, yeah, I'm not entirely sure without seeing it, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Meta support should be able to kind of help in that
Mm.
regard, and then help with
But
your WhatsApp while they're at it. Eh?
yeah,
But
exactly. But yeah,
uh,
long term, I
for it.
want to, yeah, a lot of the content I'm putting on social media, I also want to house that in the Skool group. And a lot of the free or, you know, the easily scalable resources that I'm producing, I can put them there too.
Yeah, so immediately what I'm like thinking there, as you said, like the kind of Facebook group on Skool is kind of like the mum's net, but for like children's education, like focused on like a forum for them to talk, which
Yes.
is a phenomenal, as I'm sure you've already thought, but phenomenal um, lead magnet to then kind of upsell people into your paid
Hmm.
offering, even if a very small percentage of them then convert. But it's
Hmm.
a place to kind of keep reminding it to them free of charge. Like obviously you've got your email list. You could probably also collect their email if they're entering the Skool group, just as one of the questions.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously you were kind of saying thinking between charging for it and then doing it for free. Are you charging for? You said you're charging for it now. That's when the issues come.
Yeah, I tried to start charging for it, but yeah, it hasn't fully worked for the reasons I said.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. You could charge for it. A saying I heard a few years ago. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tim Ferriss, but I heard him say, if
Hmm.
something isn't going to make you a crap load of money, you may as well just give it away for free, because the value is on the back end. Essentially, just giving it away for free and having a valuable place where people can discuss it and talk, and then just keep seeding the fact that you have your kind of back end offer, your higher ticket offer, could
Mm.
become a really valuable way to again just consistently make sales without relying on paid ads. Could use
Mm.
paid ads to fill the group, and then word of mouth should kick in at some point there as well, and help grow it. So that's kind of on the back burner. That's not a key focus. The reason I wanted to ask about that was just because, especially since COVID, I never really I heard people talk about homeschooling, but it seemed like a bit of a fringe idea, at least from my
Hmm.
perspective before. Now I'm hearing people talk about it all the time. Whenever I'm hanging around people that have kids or in those sort of groups, like it's a much more talked about thing. Like it's a much more normal and accepted thing. Um, how do you see that impacting what you're doing? And do you have any plans for taking advantage of that kind of increase in the market?
Yeah, to be honest, I have seen it in like the parents I've been speaking to, and you know, Um, Probably, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say about a fifth of the leads I speak to homeschool their kids.
Hmm.
And I haven't been getting enough leads to think, okay, I could start a lesson at a time that works only for homeschool kids. I think it's still not quite enough yet to be able to say, okay, I'll definitely be able to fill this class just, at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. So yeah, I haven't been trying to take advantage of it. Um, but I see the potential in the parents I'm speaking to that opportunity could be there.
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting one. That is, it's kind of the chicken before the egg. How do you run a class for something before, or create a class for it if you don't yet have the students signed up to it? Um, could be kind of more of a product launch type thing where you, um, or kind of selling before you build. As I know Sam Ovens used to always
Hmm.
talk about, like selling a program before you've, and then kind of figuring out how you build it as you go. Um, that is an interesting one though, because me just as a marketer, I'm there like, how much could you sell that for, right? If like you basically became an on, I don't know if there is. I know there's like the Open University, which is online, but I don't know
Hmm.
if is there equivalent for that for Skool that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge. Not that it's, not just a video curriculum.
Yeah, and there would be other factors to consider because the type of parent that is, I would assume, is wanting to homeschool their child will also want to be very hands on with the sort of education they're having. So
Hmm.
if it was reflecting what they were learning in school anyway, then there's other aspects. And also, as of right now, it's obviously maths, right? It's not like you're doing
Hmm.
all these other subjects as well. Um, on that though, that was kind of my idea when I came across what you were doing. What are your plans with
Hmm.
this? So, how old are you, by the way? I'm assuming relatively youthful still.
Yeah, 25. Yeah. How are
25.
you?
Okay, 20. I'm 22, so not
Nice.
too far apart. How have you thought about this over the next 5 to 10 years? What's your grand vision with this? Your long term vision? Where, if everything went to plan for you, where do you see Maths Mastery Academy being in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I'm thinking I want to scale to just with the program that I'm doing to maybe 100 to 200 students. That's probably in the next 2 to 3 years. I think that's achievable. So I'd be bringing on more tutors to help with the actual delivery of that program. Following that, as the students that I'm teaching get older, I'm planning to build courses and build curricula to basically maintain my current client base while still getting new people in the bottom end. So ultimately, um, I'm thinking of, so at the moment it's just like basically 10, like you said, 10 to 14-year-olds focusing on very niche maths competitions while maintaining the same kind of clientele and the same kind of marketing. I think I'll be able to use that to market for GCSE. That's UK standard exam for maths for all 16-year-olds. Um, Following that, again, kind of still aiming towards kids who want the extra support in order to be like challenged and to learn maths at a deeper level. But then focusing when they're 17, 18 years old on university admissions tests like the MAT test, STEP, TMUA. There's all these kind of university admissions tests for maths.
So that would be how many different offers?
Three,
Three. Yeah.
three, but it
Interesting.
would take care of kids at any age in their secondary school career.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Interesting. And is there anything you've thought about? Again, this is just me being a marketer and thinking about how you can maximize lifetime value. Is there anything you've considered if you were at some point to sell a super high ticket program, 5 grand, 10 grand plus? Is there anything that's crossed your mind that could be something that could be worth that to the market?
Yeah. So I'm I've I look at lots of other people to see, okay, what are they doing that I could potentially apply in what I'm doing? The thing that I think is probably most applicable is I've seen people charging 2 grand for a year, basically. Um, and then depending on how far of the way through the year that they are, when people join, they just offer a discount based on that. So
Mm.
that would be a way of getting more money up front potentially. The other way that I can potentially perceive this happening is when it's an offer that is very closely tied to university admissions. So
Hmm.
just from having spoken to so many parents, I can see a massive driving factor for even for parents whose kids are like aged 10 to 13 is is this going to help them get into a top university? Um, that's kind of why I mentioned it in my marketing that it's giving them the foundation that will prepare them for that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's
I
such
mean,
a massive selling point.
and the fact
And
you've obviously studied at Oxford is a huge
yeah,
kind of piece of credibility there, and a dream for, I would assume, for a lot of parents for their child to go and to go and study there. So yeah, and that's something I've come across and seen work before is helping students get into top universities. Um,
mhm.
is that something that you think you could create a program specifically around?
Yes, it is. And I was thinking, I played this over my head because I was thinking, okay, well, the closer the the courses, the closer it's tied in with university admissions, the more value it's going to be. So mine's very, very loosely tied. So it's not like it's fun for me to teach. It's making like a profit, not loads of not crazy money, but like a decent enough, and with
Hmm.
potential to scale. I feel like if it was university admissions tests, that could be a lot more lucrative just because it's so closely linked with, this huge desired outcome. Um, I've still played over in my head, how could you charge more for that? And I'm thinking like I could charge like double what I'm doing now, but I still think there's going to be resistance. And maybe, you don't know until you try, but I've got a feeling that there's still be resistance to paying like more than £1,500 for a 12-week course, say. Um, yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I think you're very humble. I think you're very humble, and I think you would be surprised what people would pay. Even if you think about, I know obviously the student loans so it's not as clear cut what they're paying. I don't even know what a kind of year of undergraduate at Oxford or Cambridge would cost, but I'm assuming
Hmm.
it's not cheap. So
No,
even if you use that as an anchor to then go, well, look, you're going to be paying this anyway. Like what they're investing in working with you to get there is all relative. I think you could sell that for significantly more. I've come across offers, both kind of helping people get into top universities at undergraduate level, and then also kind of to study PhDs and stuff, selling for thousands and thousands of dollars. So I definitely think there's scope here. It's something you'd obviously kind of need and want to talk to the market to find out, rather than just, because you can go around all day thinking about what people will buy, but you can actually, if you were to talk to them and figure out like where the biggest pain, where the biggest fears are, you can very quickly get an idea for what people would pay to solve. And I think that's a bigger dream that a lot of parents have and would be willing to spend money on. Of course, you then need to make sure you can fulfill on it, right? And actually help the student get in, which is a very hard thing to. You can't guarantee that, I don't think. Perhaps you
well,
could.
I was actually just thinking that that would make a really freaking good guarantee. Whereas, like, if your child doesn't get 5 grand, but if your child doesn't get into Oxford, then it's free,
Yeah.
or you don't pay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
dangerous because then I'd have to really vet every student that comes on to think, okay, am I confident that I'd be able to help them achieve this goal? But yeah, that's the kind of offer that keeps you up at night.
It does, and I think you could charge well more
Mm,
than 5 grand for that. Like if you're guaranteeing someone a spot in one of the top universities like that, I definitely think you could
mm,
charge more. Plus, that could just be the marketing headline you use for your core program, but if they don't qualify and you aren't super confident, you could have a downsell for them. And there could be
Mm-hmm.
another program that to help them on their way, or at least get into another top university. It might not be
Mm-hmm.
Oxford or Cambridge, but
Yeah,
it
of
might be
course.
one of the other top ones in the UK. Those are all
Yeah.
things to think about. I think what you're working on at the moment is exciting. Like it's, as I said at the beginning of the episode, everyone, I think, not everyone, a lot of people tend to focus on when they think about Sam Ovens programs and other ones, like selling, like consulting related to marketing, sales, business. But the fact that you've kind of proved that people are willing to spend money on something totally unrelated to that, and you can build a business out of it is exciting. And the numbers are clearly there. So there's clearly room to scale. The fact you're going full time on this, I think you said within the coming weeks or months, was that
Yep.
purely just to dedicate more time and attention to scaling this? Or was
Yep.
there any other reason behind that?
I mean, when I started this, basically in summer last year, I kind of knew, okay, I'm going to try and do both to get it off the ground, but then I'm going to be leaving the full-time role to try and do this full time. Not even to try and do it, just to do it full time, because I know that there's the scope here to at least get to like 15, 20K months just with the offer that I'm doing. And that's kind of what I'm aiming and expecting to be doing within 6 months of leaving my full-time job and doing this full time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of always the plan.
Really excited about kind of seeing where you take this, and just kind of thinking about the fact that things are really simple at the moment. As you said, you're running ads to a lead form and into a Google sheet, and then you're literally just kind of literally calling them, and setting up. You call them and set up. You said the free assessment. Is that what you call it?
Yes. So booking a call, I send them like a 5-question maths assessment that the child does before the call. I then discuss that with the child at the beginning of the call, and then it's more like an ordinary sales call, like discovery, and then pitch. Yeah.
Interesting. So the fact that things are super simple, there's so much room to kind of grow that. You said you think you are going to need to change things. I would love to know, when do you think, like, are you planning on changing things anytime soon? And why do you see there as being a need to change things if they're working currently?
So kind of like I've mentioned, there's some things that are really hard for me to follow up because I don't have the not proper, but a solid customer relationship management system in place. So it's things like all of this tracking that I'm doing, and also my assistant's helping me do manually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like seeing when students are coming to the end of their enrollment, seeing when, um, checking that they've all paid on time, or like that I'm keeping those touch points with the parent and the student, that I'm tracking the student's progress and their attendance, and following up with that if there's anything like out of line. And then also on the lead side, making sure that, oh, if this person was really interested but then have ghosted me for 3 days, that I actually remember to follow up with them and reach out again. Because so often it's easy to reply to people who've replied to you because you see it, because it's an unread message. But then for ones where it's like just fallen off, it's actually quite difficult to go back and spot that, and to
What are you
help
doing
build
at the
that
moment follow-up
relationship.
wise?
In terms of WhatsApp,
With leads that come through that you start a conversation with, that don't either book a call in or don't buy, what does your follow-up process look like? I know you said it's not
so
optimal. I'm not expecting the world here, but like,
yeah,
what does it look like at the moment?
so um, so specifically with leads that don't buy.
Or don't like, you start a conversation with them, and we could explore both. But I was thinking initially people
Mhm.
that you said it's easy to respond to, people that have responded to you, but the ones that you're sending messages to that aren't going anywhere, do you have a script to follow up with them on? I know you said you've been through other coaching programs before. Is there anything you're following there to try and turn those into calls and then into paid customers?
Yes, so I kind of have 3 follow-up messages for
Mm-hmm.
either leads that didn't reply at all, or kind of stopped replying mid-conversation. If I can't get through to them by WhatsApp, I also reach out like with a personal email, but then
Mm-hmm.
also If they've
Your
completely
newsletter.
ghosted on WhatsApp, if they've completely ghosted on email, then it's just the email,
Yeah,
more or less weekly emails that hopefully nurture um, that.
got it. And then after they have a sales call, don't buy. Is there any follow up there? Same thing.
Yeah, so at kind of sporadic periods, I will reach out to all the people who've booked a call. I have records of everyone who booked a call um, to see, if their situation's changed, if they're interested now. A lot of parents will say, I do want my child to sign up, but it's not the right time. Either they've got exams or other class timings don't work right now, and I'm not putting on different class times. Or so, and they've already got after school clubs or activities. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I do reach out to those people, but yeah, it's very, like I said, sporadic. Like when I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh, I really need the business, I'm gonna just go through that booked calls list.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. Interesting. Um, cool. Well, look, I think it makes sense we wrap the conversation up here. I want to. There's a
Yes,
couple of things I want to suggest to you afterwards. Really quickly, just based on what I heard, that I think makes sense. We stopped the recording first, but pleasure having you on, Marcus. I'm pleased you could make the time for it, and I think we had a great conversation.
yeah, it's been really informative. Thank you.